What's going on, guys? My name is Colt Cherry. Welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be the beginning of the end of putting this car back together. So before we start putting anything in this car, first thing we got to deal with is getting these wiring harnesses all sorted out, along with some goodies in this box up here from LRB Speed. We have a battery relocation kit that'll be moving the battery to right here. Then on top of that, we need to go through every harness that I pulled out of that red car, look at them. I already know there's a few connectors I gotta fix, like the fuel injector connectors. Those are all getting replaced. And a few clips that had broken off while we were taking it out of the car. We're gonna have to replace those. And the most daunting part is going to be going through and finding the wires, such as this right here, that need to be replaced. So the first thing we're going to be doing is taking apart the harness that would run from the battery to the starter and alternator. So I'm going to get the battery harness, which is currently mixed up right in there, pulled out and separated. And then we're going to start getting that opened up and see what we're dealing with. Okay, so I got the sub harness pulled out that has the battery leads on it. It's not a very big harness, but this is gonna be where we start. I think it'll be simple enough for me to kind of learn and figure out how these harnesses are put together and be a good ground to get some knowledge on these things. So what I have here for this is 100-foot tape, which is overkill, but the reason I'm using this is because the tape part of it is bendy, and I want to be able to measure out every distance between the connections. So from here to right here where it connects off to the other harness, and then from this connection to these two guys, pretty much just so I can rebuild this in the exact same way it is now. I'm going to start measuring these connections out and start writing down what we got in here, and then we'll start getting this thing cut apart and kind of go through and diagnose what's going to need fixed and what I'm going to need to do to rebuild this with the new battery leads that are going to be installed, since the battery will be in a different location now. All right, so although these two battery leads are not going to be in the harness anymore, this is where I'm going to start my measurements from. And so we're going to work our way back from the ends of these and get to here, which will be the fuse box, which will more than likely be the start of the new harness that we build for this. And then slowly snake our way back through here, then back up to this end, which is the alternator. That is officially this entire harness drawn out, measured out. Sorta, at least in my head, makes sense to me. I tried to keep it simple. So now that we have a map to follow on putting this thing back together, we can start taking this apart. got the skin off of this harness. For the most part, it looks pretty well intact. The biggest issue I have is right here where it transfers into the transmission harness. You can see this section of the harness was by some heat. And then up here, these two have fused together. All right, so now that we have this harness pulled apart and we know what each of these connections go to for the most part, we need to start figuring out how long we're gonna need to make these battery cables. So like I said before, we're gonna be relocating the battery to right here, where normally there'd be a storage bin or the rear seats. And to do that, we have this kit here from LRB Speed. This is their FC battery relocation kit. So we're gonna get this installed in here and set a battery in. So we got the riv nuts installed. Next we need to get the battery fitted up onto the plate, which is just pretty much finding out where these rods are gonna sit. These rods they're permanent, but they can be moved later on if I decide to switch to a different battery. All these do, they go in these slots here. Get a nut on both sides, and that holds this lid to the top of the battery. So, stripped out one of these riv nuts, so I gotta figure out how to get this out of here. Okay, I got that riv nut drilled out, put a replacement in. Every bolt was in now. It's looking pretty solid. Now we're gonna set the battery in here. This is what it's gonna look like with the battery mounted in there. Now, I do wish these terminals were on this side. And if I flip the battery around, this negative would end up here, which I don't want. I want my positive on this side for sure. So we're just gonna have to deal with that. And by the time this car is running, I think I'll be putting a different battery in here anyways. Now with this in place, we can figure out how long our new battery cables are gonna be from the firewall all the way down the trans tunnel to about right in here. It's exactly 5 foot. These two holes, they are open through here. So I got some grommets. These have to be cut out whenever I run cable through them. But we will be able to run the cord down through here and then under the carpet so it won't be able to be seen. On top of relocating the battery back here, we're also going to be adding in a kill switch. So that's gonna be probably back here somewhere with the battery. I need to get the kill switch in, see how it's wired in and bolted on, and then we can figure out where it's gonna go for sure. So we're just trying to figure out what I need to order still, because there's a lot of different things that I need to have coming in so that I can get this finished. trying to plan ahead a little bit so I'm not waiting on one part to just finish the whole thing up. But I think I have a pretty good idea of what I'm gonna need. I'm gonna get that all ordered. And then while I'm waiting on that to come in, we can start getting the rest of these wiring harnesses fixed up. So probably gonna work on fixing this one first. This one will be the easiest. Give me something to kind of learn on, figure out what I'm doing. I think for these wires here, which I'm gonna need to replace, I have the harness that came out of the blue car up there, and I'm hoping that it has these wires intact so I can just cut them off of there. And then it's gonna be ugly, but probably just put some splice connectors on or some butt connectors in there and then wrap it up, make it look good. All right guys, so it's been about a month since I've recorded that last clip. And in that time, I've got quite a bit of things done. Nothing electrical. The reason I haven't recorded is because I've been waiting on everything to come in. But I'll catch you up on where we're at. So I just kind of got things prepped and ready to start doing all the wiring. Got the engine in the car, still needs to come back out. Got the transmission in the car. That, I'm pretty sure, is good to stay in there. I got a few things I need to do to it. It needs a new slave cylinder and a new throwout bearing, but I can do both of those things while it's mounted in the car. And then other than that, I've just been kind of going around, getting things painted up. See, finally got these painted. They're in there. And I got all the little brackets and stuff in the engine bay all painted up. Just wanted to spend a few days to sit down and catch up on all the small things that I kind of put to the side while I was rushing to get the bigger stuff done. I'll show you what we got going on here. We got some fancy stuff from ProWire USA. I've kind of figured that they have some of the best wiring I could get. Before I was using this cheap Amazon stuff, but I don't really want to use it on this car anymore. This was kind of just repair work whenever I was still driving the red convertible and I needed to do small things. But now that we have the whole harness out, figured might as well do it properly. So we have this box here. We got some tools in here that are gonna help us out. Got this bag here, more wiring. This whole setup is electronic actuators for my VDI and my 5th and 6th port. So before, when I bought this car, I didn't know how these things worked, the 5th and 6th port, that is. And the previous owner had been running them off of vacuum, which they actually run off positive power, or positive pressure. So vacuum wasn't doing anything. Actuators here. So the whole time I've been driving that car, I have never had a properly working 5th and 6th port. So I imagine just getting these put in is going to make a huge difference for how the car drives. Has this controller here, which gets wired into it. This is what controls the electronic actuators. We're gonna have to work on getting this all wired in. I'd like to adapt it into the stock harness so that it kind of looks OEM. All right, brought the bigger table over here, so I actually have some decent space to work. Forgot to show you, got a couple new tools as well. Got a very nice set of wire strippers and some new crimpers for these barrel plugs we're about to use. So, things first, separate all these out so we know what we're working with. Now the nice thing is, this is the S5 harness that we're repairing. The S4 harness has the exact same wire colors, the exact same plugs. There's no difference. So what we're going to be doing is stealing the connectors off the S4 harness and putting them back on the S5. Got some heat shrink here cover up our barrel crimps afterwards. And it should be pretty simple. All right, it took a lot longer than I'd like to admit, but this is all officially replaced. Cut out this section here. Got some nice new wire. So now I need to use this chart here that we made up whenever I took this harness apart and start figuring out how long these things need to be, get them taped back together. All right, guys, so I've officially got this fully taped back up, all repaired. I think it looks all right. The junction here where it splits off into the three, a little messy, but it ain't too bad. This here is where it splits off from the rest of the main harness. So now I need to go through on here again and re-tape up all the branches. So I'm gonna get these all taped back up, and all will be left is the main run. Won't have any tape on it. It'll still be open, and it's gonna stay open because the new alternator wiring is going to be integrated into this harness as well. Harness is in. Everything seems like it's gonna fit up nice. This is our alternator plug. Usually it goes all the way up here. Now it's gonna be plugged in somewhere down here. It'll be a little long, but that's all right. This is our plug that goes back into the main harness. That'll come up here. Looks like it's in about the right spot. So I think this should be good. The starter's plugged in. The plugs on the transmission all plugged in fine. I think we're gonna start working on this section of the harness and getting the fuel pump and fuel level sender all wired in properly. So to do that, that's gonna involve this harness as well as the main stock harness. This also has wire here that needs repaired. This won't be too hard. I think that's really the only thing that's gonna be done to this other than the new fuel pump wire. So this plug here is the 4-prong connector that goes to the fuel pump. So it usually comes down somewhere in this area. Then we're gonna run a new 12 gauge wire from this plug all the way back up into that relay right there. Kind of see if it'll focus. That yellow connector there, that plugs into the main harness here. That's the fuel pump relay. So we're gonna pull power from that so it retains all the safety features of the car, so that if there's a accident or something and the engine shuts off, the fuel pump also shuts off instead of just dumping more fuel into the engine bay. And then we have to do the fuel level sender, which is gonna be the same deal. We're gonna get the same fuel sender power out of this connector here. Somewhere along this line, I'm gonna have to see where it lines up on the body. We're gonna be putting the meter match in. Now we have to get this cover back off, unfortunately. So I'm probably gonna have to pry it off, and then we'll be able to see what we're working with. All right, guys, so we got sort of big jump in progress here. I got the fuel tank, or the fuel pump and fuel hanger all built up. So this is ready to be wired in. This we already had in, that's ready to go. I got the hatch panel off, tore up some paint, but it's only paint that's gonna be underneath the hatch, so I ain't too worried about it. And then I got this section of the harness all laid out. Had to do a little bit of adjustments because it was the harness from the convertible. So right here, where it goes over this cross member, the convertibles is like this high. So it kind of sat funny. Had this plastic piece here, and it would sit like this, sorta. Took this plastic piece out, and these will all get covered up eventually. Kind of keeping them loose for now because we have a little bit of wiring work to do. I repaired the little corroded piece right here. Just a small section spliced in there. But now we're ready to start getting this wired in and finish up this section of the harness. We'll wire this in. What we're gonna do is come here. This is the old fuel pump connector. This is where the jumper cable from here to the stock fuel pump will plug in at. I need to find that jumper cable because that's what we're gonna be cutting apart and using so that we can have it go through a grommet and still be able to disconnect it up here. We're gonna cut the jumper apart, wire into the stock car's power here. This will just ground out. I might just wire it straight to the ground on there too. And then red one here will connect up to the original fuel gauge wire on here, and then also another ground, which will just end up being spliced in with the fuel pump ground. All right, so we got the jumper here, taking all the tape and wrapping off of it. And this is our original connector. This is D-pin. This is the stock power supply to the fuel pump, which goes in that hole there. We're not going to be using this anymore. Instead, we're going to run a new 12 gauge wire from here up to a switch panel. And then we're going to D-pin this same one on here and run new 12 to right here. Okay, so I've officially turned the old OEM jumper into a new jumper that has a 12 gauge power wire running down. This will be where it connects into the hatch here. And then we got extra plugs here. So this is our main power plug. And then this has our ground and our sensor wire for the fuel level sensor. So now that this is done, I need to cut the hole in the hatch lid down there. And then once that's set, I can heat shrink that on so that that grommet doesn't move. And then need to take this 12 gauge wire, which is attached into the back of this plug here, and run it up front to where the switch panel is going to be. I've been spending a while working on this harness and getting the interior sort of put back together. It's not fully complete. The harness is pretty well, but the interior is going to need a little bit of work still. Had some issues, but we went with these LRB aluminum panels. These will make up the rear of the car. We have an issue here. This is just the original harness, and usually there's the speaker tower cover here, and this would go up and over it. And unless I wanted to go through and cut every single one of those wires and recrimp them, make them shorter, which I didn't really feel like doing, we'll have that. Kind of annoying, but it'll be all right. I think I can make it look nice if I can somehow get it held up against the wall. But harnesses ran all the way through here. Have the fuel pump harness shooting out here, going down. Still have to get the hole cut in the hatch. And we have a new problem with the hatch. Fortunately, this rear panel from LRB is going to be covering up the back bolts on here. It does look like we have room there to where I can bolt the hatch down and then just stick this on over it. Won't have any issues. Just kind of makes it a pain to pull this hatch back off. So all this will have to come off too. Now the front of the car, still a mess here. See all the wiring I ended up taking out. Originally, I was going to leave the convertible top motor wiring in and the stereo amp wiring, but for this panel here to work, the loom was just way too thick and the plugs would have been stuffed up in here somehow, so they had to be cut out. You can see coming down behind this panel, up through here, and back up to where it's going to plug into the fuse box. Then, behind this panel here, we have the meter match. Got that wired in. Just this thing, which pretty much takes the fuel level sensor and translate it so that the stock fuel gauge up here can actually read it and display the right number. And these two wires here are unterminated right now because they're going to hook up to a switch panel in the dash. But to do that, I need the dash in. Next, we're gonna be working on probably feeding the engine bay harness back through that hole so I can get this plugged in, get the dash wiring back in, and then get the dash in. All right guys, so this is the main harness that goes in the engine bay and across the dash. This also has the fuse box in it, which my fuse box has a couple spots that are a little burnt out. The big problem is all this wiring down here. So what we're gonna be doing is taking this fuse box off, and buried in this box somewhere is the other fuse box that I have connected to that harness. So that fuse box looks pretty decent, so we're gonna replace it with this one, and hopefully it has some of the same wiring that we can use to replace some of these. The only issue is that pulling these pins out is tough. These single pins isn't too bad. The double here, kind of hard by yourself. But then as you can see, we got a triple up top there, and another one there, which is kind of a pain to get out by yourself. So I feel like I'll be fighting this for quite a while. We got this diagram here drawn up, just marking out all the wires and pins that I pull out of this so I know how it goes back together. This harness was supposed to be the easy one, just slide right back in, and unfortunately it's gonna take me all night just to do this. Officially got this fuse box out. These wires are gonna stay in it for now unless I need them. This is the S4 wiring harness that came out of the blue car originally, and we're gonna pull fuse box off of here. Looks to be in much better condition. This one, as you can see, that hole there completely melted. There is one up here, few up here, kind of messed up. Second fuse box is off far quicker than the first one. So now we have to trace down this wire, get it fixed, fix all the wires that need fixed actually, and then start repinning it. I'm gonna have to pull these wires out on the S4 harness. None of them loop back into the fuse box like these. Might have to remake one of these because I cannot get it out of this hole here. All right, I think this is officially back together properly. Using my charts here. It's a little bit of a mess. Mazda definitely put this together better than I did. And I think when I go to put this in the car, I'm gonna have to make some adjustments. Just looking at it, it doesn't seem like it's gonna fit in quite right. Shouldn't be too hard to adjust it. I think I'll just have to cut back some of this wrap that I put on here. I think we're gonna go ahead and stick this in the car. We officially got the fuse box mounted back in there. I just still need to put the nut on it. We got the engine bay side ran all the way out and through. Still got to put it where it needs to go, but it is officially in the car, and the fuse box actually fit after we reworked it. Take that as a win. I'm gonna start getting this put where it needs to go in here, and then that'll be the interior wiring pretty well done. Other than that corner there, there's a few plugs that'll come through, but for the most part, we're all done in here. All right, guys, I got another pretty big progress jump for you. Just been trying to focus on getting some things done and not recording as much. Got the Dynamat all in here, or X-Mat, same stuff. Now we can start getting this wiring fully hooked up to the firewall. Maybe get some carpet in here, or at least fit up the dash and see how things are gonna fit with that. I still need to run our battery cables. I have those cut to length, but I'm waiting on a little bit of sheathing for it so that it'll be protected. For now, I'm going to finish getting this hooked up and then pull the dash down from up there and fit it into the car. All right, so here's what it looks like with the dash in. For the most part, it fits pretty nice. Down here, it's gonna need a little bit of adjusting, I think. Pretty sure there's a hole under this mat that I need to uncover. We go over here. We got the carpet laying out. It's just I pulled it right out of the box, so it needs to sit for a few hours. Probably just gonna let this sit overnight, and then tomorrow I'll get it installed. The carpet is from Auto Custom Carpets, brand new from them. I bought the front half on their website. They have it split up to where you can buy here forward, you can buy this half back, or you can buy it all as one piece. If you're needing carpet for your FC, 100% check these guys out. All right guys, so we got the carpet and some of the interior back in the car. I'm realizing there's a reason why they say do the carpet when it's hot out, because this stuff is kind of tough to form. But we got it in here, sorta. It's not fully buttoned down all the way, as you can see. Even less on this side, because this carpet's still gonna have to come back up a little bit, because we still need to run our battery cables through there. But before we run our battery cables through here, we need to figure out how we're gonna hook up all our switch 12-volt power sources. So under here, I think I'm going to make a panel that will have our setup for constant power and switch power for all our gauges and our new water controller and fan controller. And then once we have that in, we can run our battery cable to that panel and our battery cable to the engine bay. Right here we have everything we're gonna need to make our switch 12-volt panel. This here is a template with bolt holes marked out for where it's gonna go. And then to start with, we have this bus bar here. This is going to be where the battery power comes in at. So this bus bar will be 12-volt constant power. After it goes through here, it's going to go through this fuse, which will be a 70 amp inline fuse, which is going to then go to this relay here. This is a 80 amp relay. This is going to be what turns the power on for our switch 12-volt. So it's going to have power coming from the old cigarette lighter, which is going to activate this relay. After the relay, it's going to go to this fuse panel here. This is going to be where all of our switch 12-volt power comes out of. It'll be fused in here. We don't have a lot of things to connect, so a 6 fuse block should work for now. And then this here is a bus bar for all of our grounds that'll be coming back to this panel. Okay, so this is pretty much how we're gonna be laid out, I think. Unfortunately, these two things were supposed to be able to go together, but bought the wrong fuse block, so that doesn't really happen. But I think this will turn out okay. So we'll have our main constant battery power coming in to this stud here. This will be our constant bus bar. Our constant power will then go out through this fuse and into this relay, where it'll be activated by the cigarette lighter. And then it'll come back out down into this fuse block, where our power can go out to all our different things. And then we'll have our ground for all the fuse circuits coming here. And then this will loop over to here. And this will go back towards the battery. Now that we've turned our template into a piece of metal, we can start mounting all of these on here, making all these work. These were sent with these screws, which I'm going to try to use. Hopefully they will thread into the holes I can drill for these. So we're going to start probably with this and just slowly work our way this way, fill this plate in. We got everything mounted onto the plate here. So next is going to be wiring everything on the plate that is going to stay on the plate. So all the connections between these. For that, we got black and red 12 gauge wire. We got plenty of terminals. These guys, couldn't find any other than on Amazon, but I need these because this spade here is huge. So we got some of those. We got a full kit of ring terminals from ProWire. And then we got our tooling. So We're gonna be following this chart here. Pretty simple. Pretty much gonna have everything wired up except the main battery cables and the cable that comes in to turn the relay on and off. Now we have our board fully wired up. So we're gonna go stick this in the car and then start getting everything hooked up to the fuse box here. And then hopefully get battery cables ran. All right, so now we got the plate mounted in the car. You can kind of see where it's gonna live at. So right here is where the stock ECU is. And then just above it, mounted to the firewall, we got that plate in there. The next step is gonna be to wire all our switch 12 volt into this. That is going to be this box here, which is the 5th and 6th port controller. We gotta wire these gauges into power, the meter match. That also needs wired in. Now we still have 3 more slots to use after that, and I got a few ideas for what those are gonna be for. But for now, this is what we have in the car, so we're gonna get that all hooked up. We got another huge step in progress here. So this harness, we finally got the injector plugs on it. So these two here were pretty cracked. Got those replaced, and this plug here, which I don't think we're even gonna use, but we got that fixed and ran up through the firewall. So now it is finally locked in its home. We got the side mount alternator bracket in finally. This is from Franklin Performance. They're some New Zealand guys. Got that on there, which that means we can finally start measuring out our battery cables. As you can see, we already got this one plugged back in. This is from the stock car. It's a little ugly, but it'll work, and I don't feel like remaking this. So all we need to do now is get battery power to this side of the fuse box and back down to the firewall grommet we have here. And then we have to get our grounds made. So for that, we have the stock ground here, and we're pretty much gonna follow this exact recipe they have set up. So this is the engine block ground. This is the chassis ground here, which goes from down in here, and then we'll find a spot on the engine. I think we're gonna end up going to this on the intake manifold. And then we have to bring the ground from the battery up through the firewall. We're just gonna make one home run with it. I think that might come through here. Then got a little bit more progress on the interior. Got the steering column in, our ignition is mounted up to that. Over here we have our switch panel. We got the main stock of the harness here, plugged into the ECU underneath the panel there. All its plugs are up in there. Then we have to worry about getting our ground and power wire from the battery to the front of the car. Still waiting on a few things to come in before we can fully do that, but we can get that mostly made up. For the most part, we are pretty close to being done with wiring. I've just been doing a few small things, buttoning some stuff up, getting everything zip tied, connected up to the chassis so it looks nice, doesn't go nowhere. That's progress for now. Next up will be all the battery cables. So once everything comes in for that, we'll get that finished up. All right, hopefully the last order of what I need to put in to finish wiring this car is here. We got the last of our ground cables, last of our terminals, and a few extra things here. Had to get a new breaker. Last one broke on me trying to put the bolts in. So we got that. And then over here from LRB, we have our back seat delete. So this will be the biggest thing that goes in and what everything's about to bolt to. So we're gonna start working on getting that in here. It's gonna cover up our battery. We're gonna be able to mount our kill switch to it and our 200 amp breaker. So once we get that in, we can finish making our battery cables. Hopefully have this car all wired up here soon. We got the cables in. That'll run from our starter plug on the top and our alternator and main power plug in the firewall there. Run back up underneath where the seat will be, under through here, And these two ends will connect up to our kill switch. Yeah, so now we have the passenger side battery cables are in. So we got our ground pass-through put in right there, and our ground cable, along with our 12-volt constant cable here for our switch panel. These are just running down along with the car's main harness. Come all the way back, about here, and they come through here. This I'm not too happy with because there's no grommet or anything to keep this cable safe, but I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. This braided shielding on here is actually pretty good about keeping it safe from rubbing anywhere. So I think we'll be all right. I'm gonna try to get a spot up here, probably this hole here. It's already zip tied in down here, ain't going nowhere. So it'd be nice to get a spot up here where it's definitely not gonna move. Those are our main cables in that are gonna be running under the carpet. So I'm gonna get this all buttoned up. And then we're gonna start getting this back seat tray in so that we can actually hook up our main cables here. All right guys, so we got the final bits of our main battery wiring into the car. We got our rear seat delete in here. As you can see, we have our main wire here, or main cable. This just loops around and goes to our main breaker. And then underneath here, kind of hard to see, we have a cable going from our breaker to our kill switch. And then off of our kill switch, we have our alternator and starter cable here, which will run up the front of the car. Then on this side, we have our ground cable. Had to trim the carpet a little bit, make it run through it. Not the prettiest solution, but it will work. So now that we have all that in, all we have left to do on the interior is get a ground cable going from our bus bar here to our ground stud. And then we can start finishing up our engine bay wiring. So for that, we're gonna have our ground cable that goes to the block. In the stock car, it mounts right here. And then we have to run our main power cable from that stud to our alternator here. So this is from LRB. I think it came out really nice. They do some pretty good work. Only thing I wish I would have known is that this bolt back here is meant to bolt on to the surround that should be around the top of this pillar. But that's all right, we made it work. It's pretty solid there. This doesn't move. If we have to, whenever this car's running, we'll come through and put some more foam tape on it, get rid of any squeaks that it makes, but I think it should be all right. And then up front here, you can see we got our ground cable in for our switch panel. So that just goes up to this same stud here that our main ground cable goes to. If I need to in the future, I might add a chassis ground here somewhere, but I'm not gonna do that until we start having any electrical issues. And then the engine bay is now all we have left, just like that. Engine bay is wired up. See here we have our alternator cable, runs up and back down into there, just so it kind of stays out of the way. And haven't decided if I want to do solid or softer engine mounts. So if the engine's able to rotate a little bit, this has enough movement in it that'll let it do that. And then for our ground cable, changed my mind a little bit. Ended up running from that stud all the way up here to the back of the intake manifold. So this is, I'm pretty sure, the stock location. And then we have this one here, which runs back around, loops up onto the frame rail, and is gonna ground out our chassis here. So now that that's done, we really only have a few more things left to do before this car is running. The next big thing is going to be getting this engine out and rebuilt. That will probably be the next video I make, is at least tearing that apart. Then after that, we have to finish the fuel. So we got to run our fuel from the tank up to the engine bay. Then we got our coolant system, which that is all going to be completely redone. And then just a few odds and end things. We got to get the clutch in, we got to get the brakes in. But for the most part, we're pretty close. The engine is just the last big thing we have. So that is going to be it for this video. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.